What's the sense in the penny? It's the debate resurfacing yet again in D.C. President Trump posting on Truth Social saying he's directing the Treasury to stop minting new pennies because they cost more than a cent to make. So is the move penny wise or pound foolish? People have been trying to get rid of the copper coins, now mostly made of zinc by the way, for decades. That's because it costs a pretty penny to make a penny. Trump isn't the first president to consider axing the coin. President Obama floated scrapping the penny 12 years ago.
Anytime we're spending more money on something that people don't actually use, that's an example of something we should probably change.
But the administration wasn't able to execute on the cuts.
You just get all these objections. What happens to Lincoln's face that is on this? What about the states we're buying the copper from? How do they update the cash registers? And I confess, and I'm not proud of it, that eventually I just got worn down.
Nowadays, the U.S. Mint says making each penny costs more than 3.5 cents, and that when you add them all up, it equals a more than $85 million loss for the federal government in 2024. Other countries have already rid themselves of their pennies. Canada discontinued theirs more than a decade ago. Australia and New Zealand nixed theirs back in the 90s. Some are passionate about their pennies. The pro-penny group Americans for Common Sense, yes, with a C, is run by Mark Weller, a lobbyist for the zinc industry. Its website cites reasons for seeing the other side of the coin, pointing out the penny's usefulness in charity donations and concerns that losing the 1-cent coin would cause merchants to round up to the nearest nickel, raising prices on consumers who pay with cash.
The trend in other countries suggested to us that it would be a good idea to get rid of the penny, that it just was not at all necessary. Lots of countries do without them and do just fine.
If the Trump administration is able to stop the minting of new pennies, it wouldn't be without precedent in the U.S. Back in 1857, Congress discontinued the half-cent coin. Some of those coins can now fetch up to hundreds or even thousands of dollars from collectors, meaning that even in a post-penny world, a penny saved could end up being more than a penny earned.
Brian Chung is joining us now. Okay, first of all, fascinating. Second of all, practically, let's say the penny goes away. Let's say I go to the store, the corner store, and something costs $3.47. And if there's no pennies, right, or the store doesn't, like, do they round up to a nickel? Is that what other countries have done? Is that kind of the practical impact of this?
Yeah, well, I mean, you would still end up with change, to be clear. You just wouldn't have a few extra cents because you wouldn't have a 1 cent. The lowest denomination would then be 5 cents. Right. But in Canada, it is the case that, yes, we've seen, some companies maybe just round up to the next nearest nickel. Although I want to point out, Hallie, interestingly, the nickel also costs a lot to make. 1 nickel costs 13.8 cents to make. So maybe that's the next target after
It's the nickel next.
There you go.
Brian
the
Chung.
Nickel next.
All right. We'll see that on the breakdown, I'm sure, in a few weeks from now. Brian.
This is the Nation's Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Donald Trump is following through with actually removing the United States penny. And this is a big deal for a lot of reasons. Donald Trump is supposed to be anti-globalism, anti-New World Order. And one of the things that is so critical in the New World Order's infrastructure is a cashless society. And the only way you end up with a cashless society is by removing physical currency. It starts with coins and it moves to cash. So this is a quiet measure being taken that they're trying to spin as a cost-cutting move. Of course, Democrats and conservatives are on board with this idea because they say it makes no sense business-wise. It costs 2 pennies to make a penny. And then, of course, it shifts from removing pennies, rounding up or down to the nearest nickel. And then what's the next problem? Well, the next problem is that it's too costly to make nickels, right? Getting rid of the penny introduces a new problem, nickels. So pennies are made up of 97.5% zinc, but they continue to pretend like they're 100% copper, and they continue to talk about it like it's fully made of copper. They're telling you that because they don't want you to realize that it is not that expensive to make a penny, but that's the excuse they will use to get conservatives on board with thinking that this is about business and not about New World Order infrastructure. Then you look at the nickel, right? Well, the nickel is supposedly made up of 75% copper and 25% nickel, and every news clip that they have aired across the United States of America in regards to removing the penny has said the same exact thing. They said, wait a minute, but it's really expensive for the nickel as well. So this is how it happens, like dominoes falling. You get rid of the penny, you're round to the nickel. Now it's too expensive to produce the nickel. So you get rid of the nickel and you move to what? The dime. But guess what? Dimes are made up of 75% copper and 25% nickel. And then after some time, you tell everybody we can't have dimes anymore. In fact, we can't have quarters anymore. Then you work on the cash. And the propaganda will come out about how most people don't use cash anyway. That's one of the things they try to push, is that most transactions are done via credit card and eventually via just holding up your wrist or being scanned in full by your biometrics in order to make payments, because that's what we're headed towards in a new world order. But they'll make excuses up about the cash. Remember, during the outbreak, they were trying to take cash and coins out of circulation. They started having cashless stadiums during that time period when they allowed people to go back in because they said it was too germy. We're going to let people into stadiums, but not at full capacity, right? We'll let people go watch sports games, but not everybody could go. They still have to social distance. And what we'll do is we'll remove cash from the games. That way the transactions won't involve people touching money and giving it to other people and touching coins, right? People fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. And what do we see now? The majority of stadiums do not accept cash. That was part of the transition that was occurring during the outbreak. Many agendas taking place at once. So Donald Trump tweets out, "For far too long, the U.S. has minted pennies, which literally costs us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I have instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. Let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time." Conservatives turned a blind eye to this. If Joe Biden or Obama, who did propose this when he was selected and put in office, they were going crazy about the removal of the penny. Conservatives were saying, that's it. They're trying to bring in the New World Order. They're trying to go cashless. We can't allow it to happen. So all it takes is for Donald Trump to be put in to implement all this stuff and then twist it. Say that it's a good business idea. Oh, this isn't about a New World Order. This is about business. It doesn't make sense business-wise. Trump's a businessman. We're losing money on it. And guess what? Guess who pays for it? We do, the taxpayer. So everybody just continually is going along with this, agreeing to all these New World Order infrastructures, or all these New World Order ideologies, I should say, being put in place in our new infrastructure, which is AI governance. And nobody's actually paying attention to the fact that single thing that Trump is doing is a part of this. Why aren't they paying attention to it? Well, this is why. Things like this. This is what everybody's paying attention to. While Trump is getting rid of the penny, then getting rid of the nickel, moving us towards cashless, bringing in AI governance, dismantling the government so you have AI operate the government. What are people seeing? Well, they're seeing stuff like this, right? I talk about how they constantly are talking about men and women who could play whose sports. These ridiculous issues is what everybody's distracted with. This is what they do in between telling you that they're going to bring in a new world order, that we're going to Mars, that we're going to have a technocracy, all this stuff that Elon Musk tweets. He tweets this. Look what they're saying. I made them say my name. This is what's airing on the news. And this is what MAGA is just having a field day with. Stuff like this, which is just so unbelievably ridiculous that we've gotten to this point. It's laughable, but it's also sad that this is stuff that's airing on the news and everybody out there is loving it because they don't even realize that they're just working you into this, making you laugh, distracting you with things, showing you how ridiculous the quote-unquote legacy media is while they're bringing in the New World Order. Look.
Now, the disruptor-in-chief, Elon Musk, who apparently has adopted the alias, at least he changed his social media handle to Harry Balls, tweeted this morning, "Democracy in America is being destroyed by judicial coup. An activist judge is not a real judge."
Right, so Harry Balls being said on the news. This is making everybody's day, hearing the people on the news who obviously are playing the role of being brain dead and sounding like fools constantly, right? That's been part of the teardown of the system, how Democrats and the quote-unquote legacy media has been acting. But make no mistake about it. Just like on the cover of The Economist, which, again, The Economist, one of those magazines that always shows us truth in plain sight, years ago, get ready for a world currency. That's what we're headed towards, this alignment that Donald Trump now has with crypto, right? Remember, Trump made that stance against central bank digital currency. Oh, we're not going to have a central bank digital currency. We'll have a different digital currency. We'll have crypto. And since so many people made money off crypto and seem to think in their minds that it's free of the Federal Reserve and it's free of being monitored and tracked, these people are living in fantasy land. This wouldn't exist unless they wanted it to exist. And for anyone out there that's wondering what the world will be like with the digital currency, well, let's listen to this scumlord from the World Economic Forum tell you why it's so important to have a digital currency, because they can not only monitor and track what you're buying, but they could tell you, oh no, you're not allowed to buy that. And they talk about this as if it's a good thing.
And the one final note I will make is that if you think about the benefits of digital money, there are huge potential gains. It's not just about digital forms of physical currency. You can have programmability, units of central bank currency with expiry dates. You could have, as I argue in my book, a potentially better and some people might see it as a darker world where the government decides that units of central bank money can be used to purchase some things, but not other things that it deems less desirable, like, say, ammunition or drugs or pornography or something of the sort. And that is very powerful in terms of the use of a CBDC.
So nobody gave these people the authority to be able to tell us what we can buy with our money. Of course, they use things like, oh, they're going to buy booze or pornography because they want people out there to say, hey, maybe it's a good idea. I don't want my kid to buy booze, or I don't want my kid to buy pornography. So maybe it's a good thing that Big Brother's watching and monitoring, so they can't do that behind my back. Instead of, because I'm too busy to be a parent, I'll let the government be a parent for me, right? And of course, that's nothing to do with the government caring about you buying pornography or liquor or cigarettes or whatever else it might be. It's about everything, having control over everything. And legitimately what this means, what he's saying is that, well, if you say things that we disagree with, if you post on social media, if you decide to protest something that we pass in a couple of years, even though we seem to be your friend now, when we tell you in 5 years that we're anti-LGBT or we're anti this movement, and you actually speak out against it, well, your bank account will be frozen. Oh, and by the way, you won't be able to buy meat. You'll have an allowance on the money you have where you're only able to buy certain things based on a carbon footprint. That's what this is all about. So that's what hell on earth sounds like. And we're moving closer to it, right? We see so many stores that are now going cashless, from KFCs to Subways, right? And I want to play for you a little treat from a movie from 1981 called Early Warning. And this is really just another movie that had predictive programming back when they used to make Christian films that actually exposed the globalists, that actually exposed what they're trying to do, told you what exactly it meant for your life, what it looked like. This is 1981. Okay, so we're talking over 44 years ago that this movie actually came out. It's talking about everything that's happening today, this movie clip I'll play for you, including how a central bank digital currency or a digital currency, just in general, is total control. And it has everything to do with the mark of the beast. Listen.
I would like to thank each and every one of you for your hard work and dedication to our cause. In reviewing this year's progress, let me say that we have been highly effective in conditioning the people's minds to accept our solution to the world's problems. The energy crisis here in the United States was exceptionally successful worldwide, and we expect similar success with our upcoming food shortage. Our labor leaders have made great progress by causing confusion and work stoppages in all areas of the world. Financially, the dollar is being devalued even faster than we could have hoped. Politically, the public has lost total confidence in any form of government. The threat of universal war is a daily possibility. As you know, we ourselves do not need to hold any visible office of leadership. As a matter of fact, it's better that we do not. If we control the finances, news media, food, transportation, energy, we control everything. It is important that you, as world leaders, keep our program before your countrymen. With our World Bank and computer program operational, we now have the capacity to control the financial affairs of every human being on Earth by giving each person his own computer number. Anytime his number is used, we would know his financial situation at once. He could not buy or sell anything without his computer number. It will simplify their lifestyles tremendously. The end result will be a one-world monetary and government system that we alone will control. Yes.
What about the people who forget their number, or their cards are lost or stolen?
We've made provisions for that. By using this laser imprinter, we can painlessly and permanently affix the person's number to the back of his hand or his forehead if he so desires. The numbers would be easily read by this new ultraviolet scanning equipment. For the purposes of demonstration, I've had such a number imprinted on myself. Once this number is imprinted, it cannot be lost nor can it be changed. Now, are there any questions?
What about the individuals who refuse to have this number implantation?
We expect some minor resistance, especially from highly motivated religious groups. But eventually, hunger will cause even the most zealous to conform to our program. Gentlemen, I believe that within a year, 2 at the most, our one-world government will be a reality. If we continue on our present course, it is my opinion that we could present the devil himself as a world leader, and the people would accept him.
So this has been the plan for a long, long time. And you could see a movie like that or a clip like that, and of course it looks dated, but there's so much truth in it. There's so much truth in that because you see it being even carried out in today's world. At that time, it seemed like a crazy idea because the computer wasn't as normalized as it is now. There were no cell phones in 1981. This notion of being monitored and tracked didn't necessarily even exist in anyone's mind because the surveillance state seemed so far out in the distance that it wouldn't even be possible in most people's lifetimes who were alive in 1981. Fast forward to 2025, and what do we see? We see people that have Alexas in their home, listening to them, monitoring them. We have people who are on board with CCTV cameras being all around us. Every street light, every store now. You go to a CVS or a Walgreens. What happens when you check out of these places? You can look up and see yourself on candid camera, and you can wave to the camera. You're being filmed and monitored around the clock without your consent. But to them, your consent is going into these stores, right? And what's even better for them is if you say, well, I don't want to go into these stores anymore if I'm going to be on camera. I'll just order stuff from home on Amazon or somewhere else. And then they say, great, that works out even better for us because we don't want you to leave your home. All the stuff in your home we're listening to you on, your phone, your TV, these smart devices. We control your thermostat. We control, obviously, your smart meter. We control everything in your home. So stay in your prison cell. And when you do leave, just remember, you'll be filmed and monitored and we'll be watching you there too. So there's really no escape. And now, of course, that Starlink is hanging up high on its balloons or whatever it's doing up there, that we have Starlink monitoring us, even phones that are not connected to Starlink being monitored or being linked up to Starlink. Well, now there's really no escape. So you go back to the beginning of this video and what I'm talking about, right? Pennies, removing the penny. It sounds like no big deal because everybody listening to this would probably say, well, I haven't used a penny in a long time, right? It's just a penny. What could you buy with a penny anymore, right? We've allowed them to get, to the point where you can't even purchase something for a penny. You have stores that are called dollar stores that don't even sell things for $1. That's how unreal it is. I mean, it's so unreal that we actually have people who spend money to buy water, right? Think about that. You pay $3 for water, something that should be free, that people need to survive. So they talk about getting rid of the penny like it's some cost-cutting idea. And you'll hear most conservatives, they're so desensitized to it now that they won't even blink, right? They won't even blink about the idea. Like the guy said in the video, he said, I was opposed, right? The lib from the news clip. He's like, I was opposed to the penny being removed, but I've just become so worn down by it. And that's exactly how they operate. That's why they bring all these ideas up and wear you down on it, desensitize you to it, until you just go, oh, whatever. Oh, whatever, Yeah, sure. Let them do this. Let them do that. They've been talking about it forever. Get rid of the penny. And then next, the nickel. And then next you go, well, there's still dimes and quarters. And then those are gone. You say, well, who cares? There's still cash. They're never going to get rid of cash. And then they just come out with whatever excuse they need. And they say, well, the majority of people don't use cash, so we're just going to not print it anymore, right? And one by one, like dominoes, all of it falls. It's what it takes, one at a time. For people to think that overnight some dictator was going to come in, whether it was Barry Soetoro, Obama, or Trump, and say, hey, we're going cashless. All cash and coins are gone. They know there would be a revolution. So this is how they do it. This is how they do everything. It's just little bits at a time, pushing little bits, taking little bits, and people conforming and allowing it. And they just go further and further and further. So we'll move from the penny to the nickel to the dime, and it'll continue on while everybody's distracted by stuff like Elon Musk calling himself hairy balls, right? It shows you the level of thinking that's going on in the United States of America. These awake people acting like children, right? We've always talked about it with the Democrats, adults behaving like children. Look at MAGA, thinking they're awake, which is even scarier. Thinking that they're actually awake to the conspiracy, not having a clue what a New World Order blueprint looks like. Most of them don't even know what Agenda 2030 is. And then it's getting implemented in front of them. And they're not only on board, they're defending Donald Trump. They're defending the removal of the penny. They're defending AI governance by saying, well, it's better than me giving up an extra $500 a year so it, that goes over to Iraq so they can make Sesame Street programs, right? Not even realizing that these are psyops that they're making to make you want what they want, just like you heard in that clip, right? Making the people on board with what they want from the get-go, which in this case is a cashless society. Donald Trump implementing it, and these people are blind to actually see it. It's incredible. It's incredible. But it makes perfect sense, right? That they do this with Trump because they can distract these people. They can tell these people that these are business-savvy moves, and that's all they need to hear. But make no mistake, if Joe Biden said they were getting rid of the penny, right? Just like when Obama said it. Obama said it then, and there was pushback. People were like, you're not getting rid of the penny. You're not getting rid of cash or coins. Nobody made you, nobody made you, gave you the right to do those things. You're supposed to just serve as the president. You're not supposed to take away cash and give us a cashless society. So everybody would push back then, right? If Biden did it, they push back. But since it's Trump, and since they tell you it's business savvy, you don't hear the people on NBC or CBS going crazy about it, right? Every time Trump does something, you hear them go crazy. That's how it's been for the last 8 years. Trump's doing a tariff, Trump's doing this, and then they go nuts, right? Amazing how there's just certain things that both sides are on board with. They were on board with, the liberal media was on board for Operation Warp Speed, right? They never questioned any of that. They're certainly not questioning the removal of the penny. And they're just telling you to be prepared for the nickel next. That's what they're telling you. That's how conditioning works, right? In those news clips, the penny's going. What about the nickel? We'll round up to the nickel. Yeah, but the nickel's got to go too. Oh, okay. Getting you prepared for a cashless society. I thank everybody for being here. Hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.